Joyce, drive!
I'm
Joyce,
trying!
please! Joyce! Drive!
Wait a sec, how big?
First he was like that. Now he's like this.
Suck my fat one! Jesus, what?
And they put Dick in the washroom. And personally, for us, I like Dick.
You shrunk. Hit the dick. Yep. Let's just hope it's not too hard.
If it is, I'll soften it. It's too big, it's not gonna fit.
Steve hears that all the time, and he goes in anyway, don't you, Steve?
What the hell's wrong with you?
Hello everybody and welcome back to another little video, and today we're actually going to be talking about the Stranger Things finale. So if you haven't already seen it, spoilers beware. But there's some emotional beats that I want to talk about and touch on, and we'll probably do like a season 5 review down the road. But for now, I really wanted to touch around some of the ideas I've had going through my bouncing around in my head the last few days since the series finale has, come and gone. There's a few things I really wanted to touch on. I think a lot of people right now are somewhat divided. A lot of fans are divided when it comes to the season finale of Stranger Things 5, season 5. But I think that I think having that division is maybe causing a little bit of confusion. Because my ultimate opinion on it is that while yes, people might be divided, oh, I didn't like this, or I really liked this, that's great and all, but I feel as though ultimately season 5, the finale, was a love letter to the fans, like a goodbye letter, So if you look back at season 3 of Stranger Things, when Elle is reading Hop's letter about, keep the door open 3 inches, and about how, he doesn't want things to change, but unfortunately that's part of growing up, and that's a part of just becoming who we are, accepting that change and moving on. I feel as though that this, especially the final episode, the finale of season 5, it really does feel like a farewell goodbye letter to the fans, right? But there's a few talking points I wanted to touch on in today's video. Number one being, Will gets powers. How awesome is that? I'll drop a video in here, but I just think it's super cool when Will gets his powers. It's awesome how his eyes, he still gets the bloody nose, which I think is great. But it's really cool how his eyes go white. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, but Will is technically a warlock. I believe in terms of class, selection type lore, Will is not a sorcerer. He is technically a warlock. Do your research, do your homework. At least that's what I would consider him to be. And no, you don't have to, the user of a warlock essentially, if you're given power, like if a deal is struck, it doesn't need to be by consent. But he basically is a warlock. I think the reason why Mike and a lot of other people have labeled him a sorcerer is because I believe during that time in D&D, the warlock class did not exist, right? It was a sorcerer class. But yeah, Will gets powers. I kind of wish they would have maybe introduced that a little earlier on in the series, because I do feel like Will's character really shines through this season. Despite the whole speech that he gives towards the end of the season, right before the world's about to end, and I do think his character's a little more consistent and well-developed this season, ultimately. One of the other talking points I wanted to touch on, and I've sort of already touched on this, is friends. The rooftop scene. And when I say that, those of you, if you know, you know. The rooftop scene with Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Robin, where, they just pour their hearts out. and they're fighting back tears, and then at one point they just let the river flow, where they are open and honest with each other. Hey, I miss you. I miss us hanging out. I miss us being friends. I miss us getting to spend time together with each other, and not wanting things to change. And I think that scene is such a great scene. I've watched it a few times now just because of how great it is. And I believe the dialogue's good. The cinematography is great. I honestly wish that scene could have been even longer, just because... And I know they mentioned that, hey, we're going to get together once a month at Robin's Weird's uncle's house, which I think they mentioned it's in Philly. And I read somewhere online that might be like an indication to some weird spin-off series because of the Montauk Project or something. I think it's how it's pronounced. I'm actually not sure, but I know Joyce and Hopper are moving to it's like Montauk, California, I believe it was. But I think it's so heartfelt and such a great epilogue to include that in there, where all the friends get together for one last hurrah for now. And, they mentioned, why should we stop hanging out? Let's meet up once a month. I think the symbolism there is great. I think the show's finale the show's epilogue is perfect. I'm sort of skipping over a lot of the final episode up until you get to the epilogue, and that's mainly what I'm here to talk about today. But I feel as though the epilogue is really well put, And I know a lot of people have a lot of quarrels with this, a lot of issues with, it's just a theory if Elle's alive or if she's dead, or I think it should have ended this way. I think what they did is the Duffer Brothers and Netflix, they played their cards to the best of their ability, right? They ended the show, especially with 11, a little more open-ended, so I feel like she could come back if, a future project sort of calls for it, where they need to bring Millie Bobby Brown back for a future Stranger Things show. I think they also left... I do love Mike's theory about how I believe that, the mage is very clever. The mage needs to, trick her friends into believing that she's gone right now. Nobody knows where she went. Hopefully she went somewhere that she's living a happy life. And I do really like how Mike brings up, I choose to believe. And they all end up believing that Elle has moved on to some sort of town, right? Hopefully far away where she's safe. And I know, there's a plot hole regarding the military trying to track and hunt her down, that sort of thing. But I think also, looking at it from the perspective of they only have a 2-hour window and they have to tie up all of these loose ends. Was I satisfied, with the fight scene being 5-10-ish minutes? No, it could have been a little bit longer, but I was also very satisfied. It felt like, to me, I was trying to go into it with the mindset of I shouldn't be expecting an Avengers level epic fight sequence, right? I went into it expecting a Stranger Things fight sequence, and I feel like that's basically what I got. I think it really would have been cool, though, if they could have had a scene where they showed Elle jumping from making those high catapult type jumps from rock to get to the abyss. I think that would have been awesome. To really just sort of show off her strength and power and agility and how far she's come with her training. Because it's really cool when she throws that massive boulder at the Mind Flayer, I feel like more of that also would have been cool in the battle. Like maybe her friends have to buy her some time so she can try to find a weak point or an entrance into the cave where Vecna is being held with all the children. And then, rush in there and give them hell, really. But ultimately, this sort of brings me to my final point. Yes, Elle leaves, and I also choose to believe that she's alive. I hope. But the start of something new. And what I mean by that is the end of the episode, has all of the main cast members of the group playing one final D&D campaign. And they finally complete the campaign. And they all put their books up on the shelf. And I feel as though the characters are not only saying goodbye, they feel like they're saying goodbye to their friends, but I feel like the actors are also extremely emotional, and it's very powerful, that scene, because I feel like the actors are also saying goodbye to their characters. Who knows, maybe 5, 10, 15 years, Netflix and the Duffer Brothers will bring them back. We don't know, but I know there's some spin-off projects in the works, so I think if they were to do like a Dustin Henderson and Steve Harrington like spin-off show on Netflix, I think that would probably be their best like success. Like maybe they're going around Hawkins and they can't go into the Upside Down anymore because it's closed, but it would just be cool if they're like I don't know, like it's like a Scooby-Doo, but instead you have Steve Harrington and Dustin Henderson. But ultimately, I feel as though the series has sort of ended where it started, with them finishing off, or at least starting the video. Go ahead and give it a like, comment, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.